Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Geekified. A bit of a change tonight. I'm going to be your host. I'm Nathan, obviously. You've got the wonderful Mr. Somerville there, who's our normal host. And we got Super Tony Tony McKeever. So yeah, tonight we're going to be talking about a highly anticipated film, which is supposed to be the next film that's going to save cinema. And that is WonderWoman 1984. Is that WonderWoman 1984 or just 84 is the official title?
84.
1984.
84. 84.
WW 84. So
just WWE 84 would have made me want to watch it more possibly, but yeah. So Chris and Tony went to Greenock today to watch it because it's the only place near Glasgow you can get to watch the film at the moment. So I haven't seen it. I'm not that interested in seeing it because I didn't like the first one. But yeah, so Chris, what was the film like?
You broke up a bit there, like just a smidge there.
Sorry, so Chris, what was the film like?
Oh, it was okay. Is the best I can say. If you're going to summarize a film, it's not the best summary that I could possibly ever give, but it was okay. Really short.
And you were a big fan of the first one. You were a big fan of the first film, though, weren't you?
Yeah, I absolutely loved the first film. I think the first film was one of the planters of DC. I think that was the first film I'd seen from DC that I thought, do you know what? They've got this right. They're on track. This is what they need to do. This is what's going to make them on par with the Marvel Universe, which was just exploding at the time. This is hitting it. This is going to set the track and going to go. And then this is obviously the follow-up. And it's, for me, it was 2 steps forward, 1 step back, to be honest.
Yeah. A lot of hype surrounding it as well, so it's quite interesting. Tony, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, like very similar. Compared to I wasn't, hyped for the first film or even this one. But as a comic book fan, I went and seen it, and I absolutely, I was surprised and really loved the first film. I thought great storyline. Gal Gadot absolutely smashed it as Wonder Woman. She was absolutely fantastic. Obviously, there was. I know we're not reviewing the first film, but it wasn't the perfect, Wonder Woman film. Wasn't the perfect DC film. But going on what Chris was saying, it was actually the first time that DC actually showed outside a Christopher Nolan sort of escapade of films, because to be honest, that's what they should be doing. But within the Warner Brothers, actually they can do it. They can compete with the Marvel Universe if they just stick to what Jenkins has done with the first one, and then we've seen obviously with like Justice League like that. It's like, oh, well, you haven't done that yet, and you're thinking, okay, we can still. It's fine. Wonder Woman's back again for the second film. This is their 9th installment, 9th film in the DC.
Yeah.
This is meant to be their 9th. Now think what Marvel have just done on their 10th film. This is meant to be DC's 9th film.
But do you not think
again,
that's part of the?
It's two steps back, massively.
Do you not think that's
for a lot of reasons, which we'll get into?
Do you not think that's part of the problem with the DC universe? Is they've tried too hard to copy Marvel rather than just trying to stick to their own thing? Because obviously
exactly.
the DC comics are much darker than the Marvel comics. So why not just play to that rather than trying to, play to teenage boys? Why not play to 25 to 40-year-old men who spend more money and were more likely to want to watch these sort of films?
Which Christopher Nolan did.
Well, exactly.
He did. Again, we've talked about studio meddling, which Chris agrees with me on how much, and if everyone, there's a fantastic documentary on how Christopher Nolan got picked to do it and his process of doing it, and how each time, I always say, if any producer or early producer wants to know about working with a studio, watch this documentary, because it shows you step by step how every time his phone was ringing from Warner Brothers saying, can we add a car? Can we add the car? We need to sell toys. We need to do this. And he was like, no, the story's more important. And he did eventually add the car. That's all. That's the only given that he gave in. But then, yeah, they went too fast. They went, right, we need to catch up with Marvel. And, you know, they didn't need to catch up with Marvel.
No.
You know?
No. I mean, if you
they really didn't.
I mean, they have the two
Sorry.
biggest. I mean, I'd say that DC have the two biggest properties in the comic book world. You know, they got Superman, they got Batman. They're the two big. I mean, I don't read comics. I know very little about comics, but everybody in the world's heard. I mean, other than maybe Spider-Man, everyone's heard of Batman, Superman, and they know that these are the biggest guys. So how can you not make that successful? It baffles me anyway. Anyway, back to Wonder Woman. She had a fairly impressive cast. Pedro Pascal, Kirsten Wig, however you say her name, her from the shite Ghostbusters, and obviously Gail Gadot, Robin Wright was in it again, I believe, as well. So
yeah, she was. Yeah.
You know, so a pretty impressive cast for a superhero film. So where did it? You think it's okay? So why was it not great? Chris?
Where do we start? Well, I think, even the title. Let's start with actually what it's called. Wonder Woman 1984. Mm-hmm. So straight away, it's like you're thinking, why do they need to set it in 1984? Why is it so vital, 1984? Why is it, you know, okay, obviously we can't do Beyond Justice League, so maybe we set it in a time period. It needs to be vital. It needs to me, when you're setting something in a timeline, regardless of what film it is, it needs to have some importance of why you're setting it in the 80s, storyline wise.
But I read that's because the third installment is going to be modern day. So it's like her catching up with time, because obviously it starts in World War One.
But we've already had modern day 3-4 times with her in the Justice League.
I don't want to blurt in, but is that so? From what we've seen of Wonder Woman and the Justice League, she has no issue with catching up. There's no issue with seeing her in the world, and I loved the first one. Didn't need it. This one didn't need it, because there's no issue with Wonder Woman continuing our life. The only thing that we learn is our love for Steve Trevor. That's it. That's the only thing.
I read that it was Patty Jenkins who said that that the third one will be her catching up with time.
Yeah, she has.
Obviously, like you said, it's.
But she did that. She did that in the first film when she came out from the world that she was heading away from. She was going around going, "Oh my God, what's this? What's a dress? We've already had that, you know." And you're right, actually, because I did want to read, you know, research and stuff as we do, and even Gal Gadot came back and was like, we want to play what worked so well in the first film was the naivety of Wonder Woman. Mm-hmm. The naivety of a female, powerful led character. Okay, regardless, I get that in the first film, but she's had 60 odd years. She can't still be naive. If she has not learned in 60 years of life, and you're still naive about the world.
Yeah, but I read it's supposed to be this time. It's supposed to be Steve Trevor that's naive. It's like a flip, because obviously he's still straight out of World War One into 1984 or whatever it is. But yes, that's quite interesting. You're saying, so could they have set this film present day and it still would have had the same story and the same outcome? Yeah.
You could have set the 50s, the 60s, the 70s.
Okay.
There's no link. All they've done is, Chris, is to go look, as we said, look how good are we for the visuals.
Okay.
And I think again, going back to Marvel, and you know, there was a slight, if you look at Thor Ragnarok, and even maybe Guardians of the Galaxy 2, there was a slight 80s Game Boy feel, especially with Thor Ragnarok with the music and stuff. So I think they've heard something and went, okay, let's set it in the 80s because it'll be good visually.
Yeah, but Tony, they fucked that up visually. This is one of the things that we discussed in the way there. It's like in one of the opening scenes where we see Barbara Minerva, she's walking across a bridge in DC. As she's walking across the bridge, it's forced upon you to see a jogger in overly set 80s gear. It's forced upon you to see other people in over the top 80s stuff. so much that it's unrealistic, so much that it makes you think that's not real. It makes you think like that's not real. It's literally punched into your eyeballs that it's set in the 80s. So why?
Yeah.
You have to ask yourself, well, what's the point?
So is it not explained why ever? No.
No, because
No,
there's
there's
no
not.
point.
It's
We
just
don't need it. We don't need it. Okay, well, I have heard, and we're talking about. We might come back to this. We might think there might be an editing issue with this film. I did read up that this story was meant to be set on the Cold War with Russia.
Oh, you went robot, Tony.
And that's why they
for
set
me.
it
I
in the
didn't hear
80s. However, sorry. So I think the only reason why it might have been set in the 80s, and I've read some comments that the whole story baseline, it was meant to be a Cold War story between Russia and America.
Kind
But
of.
there's nothing
It was in
that
the end.
it kind of, but it's been but very, very, it's been ripped out completely.
All right, cool.
It
So
was-
going back
it-
to
it was there.
sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's okay. Sorry, I was
Going
just
back
saying
to the-
it was there at the end. That was it.
All right, okay. I mean, go back to the actors, right? So I'll say the actor. You give me a score out of 5 for their performance, okay? And a very brief. Tony,
even before you say this, Tony. Nathan. Even before you say this is the problem with the film.
all right.
So for me, this is the problem with the film. So I'll let you continue, and you'll see why when I give you
Okay.
my answers.
Yeah.
Okay, so Pedro Pascal,
10.
Chris, at 10 out of
10.
10.
Yeah.
For what reason?
Yeah.
Why?
He was phenomenal
Why
as the role. Every single thing about Maxwell Lord is a super villain for Wonder Woman. He's a villain for so many people in the DC world. He's a villain for Superman, Wonder Woman, Suicide Squad, so many different people. He is a massive villain, and he's portrayed perfectly by Pedro Pascal. Perfectly maniacal, self-indulgent,
Realistically as well.
realistic, and he's got such a. In the comics, he's got a heart as well. But his heart is so manipulated, it's ridiculous. And they use it a wee bit. They don't use it great, but they use it a little bit in this film, which I won't overly spoil if anyone sees it. But
So,
10, absolute solid 10.
Yeah.
Tony, what you give him a 10 as well? 10, Tony?
Probably not a 10, but it is close to a 10. You know,
okay.
it's he did a perfect performance because he did exactly what Chris said. He played like the loving, like that. He was genuine. He did have a heart there. He was loving, but then he quickly, you could see that he literally could destroy the world. You seen it in his eyes. He was so. But then again, it's very hard when it comes down to this. You know, like I feel like a Strictly Come Dancing judge. You know, it's like, you know, the dancers themselves are amazing.
Sorry. I have to interrupt, Tony. You've said Strictly Come Dancing. That's an official strike. That's a strike warning for Tony. Strictly Come Dancing has been mentioned once in Geekified. That's strike number 1.
Hey, look.
This is the way.
Look,
this is the way.
And that's an award for Nathan. That's an award for Nathan.
Good quote. Better quote. But you know, we were talking about hashtags, Chris, and it is the final this week. So I thought if we did a hashtag Strictly Come Dancing.
He knows it's a final. He knows it's a final. That's strike 2. Okay, so Gal Gadot, score out of 10. Chris.
She's a perfect Wonder Woman. I'm sorry.
She is the perfect Wonder Woman, and I don't know whether to mark her. So it would be a 10 for me, but I'm going to have to knock her a half point off because I think she's perfect at the role. Knock her a half point, but it's due to lack of direction.
All right, okay.
And I think as an actor, you still should be able to push through bad direction.
And the other main lead, Kirsten Wiig. How do you say her name? Wiig?
I think it's Wig. I think it's just Wig.
Kirsten Wiig has Chitara 10.
Stand out.
Did you say Chitara from?
Chitara.
Yeah. What's her name again? I don't know. I don't watch this.
Cheetah as in the cat.
Cheetah. I wish she was fucking Chitara. I'd love to see a fucking
I want that
Thundercats
film.
Yeah. Anyway,
Sorry,
carry on.
I seen this. Getting to see. So there's a massive story that broke over this, like talking about Patty Jenkins discussing the fact that she filmed this at the exact same time they were filming Cats. So they filmed Cats at the exact same time, and she managed to see some of the stuff from Cats. So she's seen the footage from Cats and went, "No, I don't want that." So she fixed it, and it is 10 times better. I'm not joking. It's perfect. Oh, you
Chris,
can imagine someone furry. Perfect.
Chris, you're getting an official strike because you've basically admitted you've seen Cats.
Oh no, I haven't
I've
seen
even
it.
seen it.
I've not even seen it. I've not fucking seen it.
Anyway,
sake.
that's quite interesting though, because you're saying that the three main characters in it, the actors have done a really good job, but you're scoring the film as average. So is that script? Is that direction? Is it the look of the film? Is it cinematography? What is it?
I think it's script.
It's nothing to do.
Script
It's
and
nothing to do
story.
with cinematography because it was stunning. It's nothing to do. Well, cinematography might be a question because cinematography is obviously the visual shots.
Some bits, yeah.
So when you look at some of the visual shots, what I discussed with Tony earlier on was the fact that stuff was forced down your throat. For me, I felt that the stuff was really, really forced down your throat. When you had, oh my God, what scene was it I was saying earlier on, Tony? The first scene. Oh, right, okay. So in the scene,
obviously the rose one.
The rose, yeah. So in the scene, it's insinuating that obviously that Diana Prince doesn't have anybody anymore. Steve Trevor's dead. So it's right at the start of the film. I'd love to run the clip at the top of this, but we'd get taken off or it'd be unmonetized. But in the scene, the camera does a beautiful pan. The pan's down from it's like a wonderful, beautiful DC street. It moves slowly across, and you see some guy at a flower stall picking up a rose. It follows the guy with the flower as he's running across the street, runs across his love interest across the street, who happens to be sitting in the cafe, gives her the rose. She stands up and hugs him. It's beautiful. There's a guy behind him, and he's with his girlfriend, and they're just look like they're getting engaged, and they're hugging. It's a beautiful scene. And then Gal Gadot's sitting at the front, fucking picking her nose. You know what I mean? It's like, you set up this fake nonsense that doesn't happen in real life. It's not real. It's utter fucking bullshit. That this shit happening around her, we get it. Diana Prince is sitting on her fucking Todd. Whoever was in charge of making this scene the way that it looked, it visually ruined it for me. It visually made it set me out of the scene and absolutely destroyed the idea. I know that Diana Prince is lonely. I know. I've seen the first film. I know Steve Trevor is dead. Why do you have to fake an M&S advert, as Tony put it previously? It's like a fake M&S advert. It's nonsense. So cinematography for me might be that point of what it came down.
But this is one of the biggest, weakest points in this film. So if you look at how many, if you want to say, steps forward in female-led films, and how popular and how great it was done. And you've got one of the most powerfulest characters in the DC world. And,
the Trinity.
You know what? Yeah, the Trinity, and what this female character stands for. And her only vice, her only weakness, is a man. Which we were going, what?
It's almost reverse sexism.
It's reverse. Literally, and we're like, you've done so well in the first film to show that you don't need any of that. And a lot of people said the best part of the first film was the first 25 minutes, and it was all set and it was all female led until the guys came in.
Play a bit of devil's advocate. In most superhero films, and with a male lead, they have a weakness for a woman. So is it not just they're doing the same thing but the other way around? No,
they don't know. They don't. Okay, look at they don't.
Superman had Lois Lane. Batman had Vicky Vale. Iron Man has Pepper Potts. You know, Black Panther has whoever. You know, they've all got somebody. So
no, because Tony Stark and someone like Bruce Wayne, they're money people. They're all like. I'm
not talking about that, but they still have this. They still have this female that affects. I mean, well, the Superman film. Superman gives up his powers for Lois Lane in Superman 2. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is you've just hit on a topic. Superman 2.
Yeah.
Is WonderWoman
the best
84.
Superman film. Superman 2 is a fantastic film.
They've done it wrong. It's great, but they've done. It's all about. You just said. Is this a spoiler review?
You can be if you want.
I'll run a spoiler at the front. Don't worry, it'll be a spoiler. Because
it's literally she gives up her powers for a man.
Yeah, but what? But
so
why? But
she would rather see the world. She would rather see the world suffer.
I don't agree with the notion that because she chooses to give something up for a man or a woman or whoever she gives it up for, that shows her as being weak. That just shows that she can make that decision herself. Why is it automatic? Because she's a woman, it doesn't mean she's weak. If a man had done that, you wouldn't think anything of it. I think that's like you reverse the wokeness.
I get that. But she learnt that first lesson in the first film at the end.
Yeah, but why
they gave up each other on they gave each other up on the runway for Steve to go and kill himself. And she said, "Don't go, Steve, don't. I need you, don't go." And then both decided there. So they've literally, this film has scrapped the first film completely.
But it's not about being weak though, is it? That's a love story. So why does that automatically make her a weak woman because it's a love story? That's what I'm arguing about.
Yeah.
You know, she's talking about her love for somebody.
Though.
Yeah, no, it may be a rehash.
It's a rehash of the. Yeah.
For me, it's a rehash.
Yeah.
So that's the reason that I disagree with it is that I get that she's given up. She didn't really mean to give up her powers. So again, this is a total fucking spoiler. She gives up her powers but she doesn't know she's given up her powers to get the guy back. The problem is that she has to give up the guy to get her powers back. That's the way that it works. So she has to let go of Steve and say, right, you're gone, and then she gets everything back, which obviously she does in the end. A double spoiler alert if you're not fucking turned off. But she basically gives up her. She basically said, "I want my powers back," so she gives up Steve.
You know, the point I'm trying to make is just because she chooses to do that doesn't make her less of a strong woman or make it less of a strong female lead in a film. I think as you're talking, it's double standards again for between men and women. She chooses to do that, whether she's a man or woman, it doesn't matter. That's what she chooses to do. It doesn't show a lack of female empowerment. She's made the choice herself. So
my issue with that, she's a god. She's been taught this. She's been given every decision along the way to say who she is. She is an Amazonian warrior, and has been taught about love and taught about the destruction of love, taught about everything. And then she still does it. She's been told about men. So that's what. So I agree with what you're saying, Nathan. I says, but we've been literally taught.
It makes her character weak.
Yeah, we've been taught
not
from
her
the
sex
first film.
Weak. Okay, yeah.
But we've been taught from the entire first film that she has to be strong. Men are bad. Female power, everything about her, she is taught to give everything she wants. So yes, she falls in love, but it's the fact that she knows that the love is the problem, is what she's been taught the entire way, and she knows she's a god. You know what I mean? This is the problem. She knows she's a god now, and that's the kind of biggest issue of where the fall in love with a guy is.
I mean, I haven't seen the film, so I'll have to wait till I've seen it to argue with you about this a bit more.
Do you know what? This is proper good discussion.
Yeah, because it's.
I get a bit annoyed sometimes where people say things. I mean, like I said, I haven't seen the film, so I don't know exactly what happened. But this idea that if she does that, it portrays. If somebody does something of that sort of ilk, it portrays them as weak because they're female. But if it had been in a male-led film and he gave it up for a woman, it would be romantic. You know, and that's so you automatically you've created the sort of disparity between the two sexes by doing that, rather than just going they're a character, they've done this, so it's not being equal because we think we need to force this idea of a strong woman on it, and a strong woman means these things, and that's the point I was trying to make.
That I 100% agree with, but that's what I mean. It makes her choices make her character weak. Really weak, and it's stuff that she's learned on the first film she's forgotten about. And the fact that she has not learned that in 60 years, and she keeps getting told by her mum when she's younger about all this, and it's like, and you're sitting there as a viewer going, are you ever going to learn? Why should I invest in this character if you're never going to learn from your mistakes? It's I
fully understand how lonely she is, and we're given that by the shitty bloody scenes and bloody cafes and DC streets. We know how lonely she is. We know everything about that she's missing Steve Trevor. But again, it's just, for me, it's the godliness she should know.
Are we not sort of stumbling upon the sort of problem with the current copy of DC films, though? The majority of them have got pretty awful scripts, and they're more style over substance. Is that not sort of a problem with DC generally? You know, it's a dynamic problem.
But I don't find a problem. So for me, I don't find a problem with Zack Snyder stuff. I know this will probably set a fight up among the Geekified team, but I don't have an issue with Zack Snyder's scripts, because I think his scripts are very kind of well set, and I think visually he's a stunning director. I think it's all the altogether-ness of Zack Snyder for me doesn't quite gel everything together very well. I think that's his issue, but his script seems better. Whereas for this, which I did notice at the start, I was saying to Tony, is this script is by Patty Jenkins and Jeff Johns.
Yep.
They're not script writers. They're not screenplay writers. And it bloody shows. It shows so much. It's evident. And that is the weakness of 84 for me.
Oh, okay. I mean, I would say I find Zack Snyder's script ponderous. There's an awful lot of bit of dirge, and especially Man of Steel. I found there's bits in that film where I enjoyed the film, but there's bits in that film where it's a bit like, please skip to the next scene pretty quickly because I'm getting bored.
I found his stuff more relevant. I found the stuff like see when Kevin Costner was giving him as his dad was giving him the kind of saying, you owe this world nothing. Be their angel, be their hero, be whatever you want, or be nothing to them. That's his script. And I was like, that's brilliant. Nobody said that in the comics. Nobody said anything. It's like Superman can be anything he wants to the world, but his dad's telling him, but you don't have to. You don't have to be any of these things. You can be nothing to them. You can just sit in the shadows. And then 15 minutes later, his dad tells him to sit in the shadows and let him die. And I think that was brilliant. For me, I thought that's the epitome of Superman, because his dad thought he wasn't ready, so he was happy to die rather than his son become an agent of just death and get mutilated and taken away and all that. But people go, it's unrealistic, it was rubbish. No, that's bullshit. That's one of the most emotional, perfect scenes I think I've ever seen.
I think as soon as people start saying...
It gave Superman drive of what he does and why he does it.
I think as soon as people start saying that a superhero film's unrealistic, I think they need to look at themselves, because it's about a superhero. It's not realistic.
Yeah, exactly.
Check yourself before you wreck yourself.
But then I always bang on about the Marvel film. That's the reason why Iron Man was so good, because or even Batman, because in a way it is kind of based on that it could be possible. Obviously not now where we have finally got to in the Marvel universe, because it is unrealistic. But where it first started, the first Iron Man, they were thinking, that is actually plausible of what's,
Okay, cool. So we're going off topic a wee bit here, so I'm going to rein it back in a wee bit. So
like WonderWoman's lasso.
Exactly. So
Gal Gadot can use that lasso on me anytime.
Was the direction from Patty Jenkins in the film? How was that, or was it the script that let it down majorly, or was the direction a wee bit off as well? Do you think?
I think, and now this people will shoot me down. I think it was both, but I think it was mainly script and maybe editing. However, I know this is open, but I'll bring this into conversation. I thought Wiggs' character, Cheetah, her story arc, the way she developed throughout the film was fantastic. It was spot on. The only thing I didn't like is that it was perfect, like how she got where she was going. They did have to make her really geeky and stuff, and the most unpopular kid at school, which they could have done in a more realistic fashion sense.
Is that
made her like the ugly duckling?
Could that have
been a really good arc?
Sorry, Tony. Could that have been the sort of the nod to the sort of 80s Brat Pack films, maybe? That's what all those films are about. So I was kind of from her character, I was getting that, but I was also getting a Batman Returns sort of Catwoman sort of vibe. Secretary who's ignored, and then something happens, and then she becomes really powerful and popular and sexy. So again,
so leading on that, like, I agree. What they did with her arc is perfect. It's one of the most perfect villains I've seen for a story arc in a singular film. But obviously, if you've seen the film now, you know that there's potential for another one. Like, hopefully, fingers crossed, because she's fantastic. Kristen Wiig, high five, absolutely brilliant villain. But for me, again, it relates back to the setting the scene for me of why a lot of the stuff didn't work for me with Kirsten Wiig's introduction about being geekiness and stuff. And in the opening scene where she comes in and you meet her and she's in the Smithsonian Museum, she does. How many films have you seen where somebody walks into a room and their bag opens and all the stuff falls out and no one helps them?
Yeah.
Hundreds.
And she's like picking up, and she's like, "Hi." Yeah.
And then asking people to help and no one knows her name. How many times have you seen the boss who's hired somebody and then can't remember their name, even though that person's saying, "Oh, but you hired me, so you should know my name." These are the tropes that the Wonder Woman fell into from the word go.
And even the lead character, who's meant to be a leading force of goodness and kindness, refuses her. Does, as what the boss does, goes, "No, I'm not gonna have lunch with you. I'm not gonna. Why would I sit with you? I'm too busy."
She does eventually. At the end of the scene, though. That's
she does, because it has to happen, because they need to. It's just like, that they could have done that better.
Yeah, but for me, this was from the issue of the film, having little things like that about that almost it's just overdone in movies. It's like Scream when it broke down and I know you don't like Scream, Nathan, but it did break down and analyze a lot of crap that horror movies were doing. They were just kind of saying, right, you can stop doing this now because it's pretty shit. This is what Wonder Woman has just done. It's just done all of the tropes. It became almost an 80s film and having the tropes in it. But I don't know if Patty Jenkins thought... Sorry, so I don't know if Patty Jenkins thought that... Patty Jenkins must have thought at the time, well, let's have these 80s tropes of filmmaking in it. Doesn't work. It looks absolutely terrible and it ruined it.
Yeah. To go back to sort of Patty Jenkins, I find it quite interesting that she's basically done Wonder Woman 84, and then she doesn't get much else, does she?
No, she doesn't. She's
been
in
the first
talks
one
for
came out in 2017, but she would have been busy, and especially if she's writing this. So you're talking, what, a 2 years production?
I think you're fine that even people... You're talking about the major auteurs don't do a lot of films. Like Christopher Nolan's, I think, has done 13 films in total in his career. But a lot of the other directors, they're doing films every year and a half. I've only heard... I'm a fairly well versed in cinema and directors particularly, and I've only heard of her doing two films. And I think that says a lot, especially when she's working for a major studio like Warner Brothers, who have always got films on the slate, even crap films that she can go and direct and put her name to. So is that an indication that she's not that great, possibly?
Well, let's see. Well,
I feel,
Wonder Woman was her last film. She had a TV series with Chris Pine in 2019. 2017, she did an epilogue. Yeah, so literally, I kid you not, from the last Wonder Woman to this one, she's only been able to fit in directing 2 episodes of a TV series and an epilogue called X's Mission in 2017. So that's 3 years. But this is what I'm saying. Like, she might have been really, really, because the success of Wonder Woman.
Yeah, but Wonder Woman
was ridiculous.
I disagree.
So
Sorry,
she
I
would have
completely
been
disagree. I don't mean to butt in. I really disagree because Christopher Nolan has done what is potentially the biggest film this year. Always probably will be the biggest film this year, given everything that's happened. He's already working on his next film. He's already stated it in interviews. He won't talk about it.
And he doesn't.
This is what I'm saying. Her next film would have been this film. They would have contracted her. We don't know her contract. Warner Brothers would have went, "You need to make the next film and no other film."
Yeah, but this film
it's come out 3 years later.
But she would have probably filmed this film. This was probably done filming about a year ago, at least 18 months ago, possibly. Then post-production, writing and stuff like that. I think nowadays, particularly, a lot of directors. I mean, look at Jon Favreau, right? Jon Favreau manages to fit in being a producer on every Marvel film. He's made The Mandalorian. He also does a TV show, and he writes other stuff and directs other stuff all the time. And he's a proper auteur, Jon Favreau. I mean, Jon Favreau is one of my favorite guys in Hollywood.
Oh, so he's my dream director to work with.
There is nothing that Jon Favreau has done has been bad. Nothing, not a single production that Jon Favreau's ever made has been remotely even questioned. Everything's been great.
And you look at someone like that, and he and not just that, he acts as well. So that's what I'm talking about. If she's supposed to. She's been talked about in quite high regard because of the success of Wonder Woman, but she didn't get any other work on the back of that. So that suggests something to me.
But I don't think it does though, because I'm going to defend her. Because I'm saying the time period between this film is 3 years, okay, and obviously we're taking a year out because of what's happened with COVID as well. So let's say 2 years and a half.
Yeah, but
No, I disagree.
I
disagree
and
as well.
do a film.
Nope, absolutely.
And just
nope.
No. But why should she? Why does she need to work to prove her worth?
She doesn't. I'm just saying that you don't. I'm just saying that you don't hear.
Maybe she wants to chill.
Right, I'm not being funny. We on our chat group WhatsApp, we're every day picking up rumors this, rumors that, rumors next thing, directors this, directors that, actor this, actor that. Her name is never in any of that. The only films you hear about her doing are these 2 films and possibly a third Wonder Woman film. So is she a one-trick pony? Is this all she can do? And if this film doesn't do well,
she might be contracted.
Yeah, but then she's still going to have contracts for. It'll be with Warner Brothers it won't be for 3 films and these 3 films only. It would be, 8 films over 60. David Fincher, who's an auteur, has just signed up for an exclusive deal with Netflix, and he's going to make, I think it's 5 films in 3 years or 4 films in 3 years.
Yeah.
Okay, and he'll write them, direct them, shoot them, everything. Because he's one of those guys. He controls the whole production. So.
Yeah, I fully.
But she's
agree.
I mean, you've got to think.
It's
I mean, I might be completely wrong. I'm just putting it out there. Is that a thing?
She did Monster. Come on. Great film.
Yeah, but that's another stuff. But that was, how long ago was that?
2013, 7 years ago.
1875.
Yeah. Anyway,
1984.
So we've been quite negative about this film. So I'd like for you to give me, other than the performances of Pedro Pascal and Kirsten Wiig, what would be a reason to go and watch this film, Chris?
The hopefulness of it. That is a very, very positive message it gives, and I really, really loved it. It was the same as the first one. The first one just punches you in the gut with hope and love and prosperity and all that, and this one just doubly hits you again. Just says like, "Fucking be a good person," and that's the message it gives you at the end of it, and it's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And it did kind of, I was kind of loving it, and at the end I was like, yeah, that's brilliant, really, really good. Tony? Take it all the shitty arrogance of like daft scenes, but it was brilliant. Sorry,
Tony.
Yeah, I agree. Like Wonder Woman as a character, she is her monologue. She is sort of the flag for hope. And me and Chris were like, the end of the film. It's very, multinational. There's a scene that looks like an M&S Christmas advert. Everyone having fun, having snowball fights and stuff, which we quickly realised that must have just got filmed to be added in, because this film was meant to be out. It's
a good point.
Suddenly, suddenly they fit in a Christmas scene because it's coming out in December.
Yeah, it didn't make much sense.
Studio meddling. But
fucking studios.
Studios. So along with obviously the character Wonder Woman and her great monologues, a fantastic credits clip that we're like, and
I forgot about that.
Yeah, and not just thrown in, they actually link it back into the story, which is like, so it's the world exists within the world, which is fantastic. I'm like, okay, that's one good point that you did.
They done, Nathan, like, I think you would appreciate it actually. Like, we'll tell you afterwards. Maybe we shouldn't include that in this. I don't think we'll include it in the episode because it's beyond good. It's literally beyond clever.
Yeah. It might be my top. It's definitely my top 5 mid-credit clips.
Definitely.
Films that they do. It's very nice.
So smart.
It does. It's very smart, very clever, very. Oh, thank you for that. That was quite nice.
Yeah.
I love. It's a beautiful nod, I think.
Okay.
Of everything. So yeah.
And I've got one last question to round up the episode. So Tenet took £350 million roughly in the box office, obviously with limited release because of COVID. This is obviously going HBO Max, I think it is, isn't it? HBO Max, it's going on Christmas
HBO
Day.
Max, yeah. It's out today.
Out today in the UK.
No.
UK. UK,
It's
Europe,
UK
rest of the
cinema,
world.
they still don't have distribution, yeah.
UK, and then rest of the world and USA is coming. Okay, so everyone said that Tenet wasn't successful at 350 million. I disagree with that. That sort of. So what number does this film take to make it a success? Do you think?
Yeah. Well, I do know the budget to make this film was 200 million.
Yeah.
Yeah, same.
I've done my research. So no, but that's just the budget though.
Yeah.
So
Not,
it needs to be
marketing.
successful.
Yeah.
Is it going to get a billion
successful.
like a Marvel film?
It's probably
Class
not
is successful. I don't know. If you are looking at budget, you know, it's. I think we're now in the time period where there's a budget and what you get in the press is you can't really count as successful, but.
I think you got to look at the circumstances we're in with COVID as well. So you're not going to. It's not going to be a £1 billion film, which is why it's going to HBO Max. It's why Warner Brothers.
For what the film is, they need to at least double their money. They need to get at least 400, I think.
Okay, so basically the crux of my question is, will it take more money than Tenet?
Yes.
Yeah, Chris.
I don't think it's in the same league on the basis that it's went to HBO Max. I don't think it's ever going to be questionable. I think, given the fact that you're talking, what, 70 to 50 to 70% of America are going to have it on their TV, so you can't make a judgment call on it. I think Tenet, is probably on a basis of cinema a billion times more successful than WonderWoman will be.
The only thing I would say is that I think this will be getting a Chinese release. Which is obviously we've seen from the we've seen from the Transformers franchise that Transformers does shit everywhere in the world apart from China, and so hence it's classed as being a successful movie.
Michael Bay in China is like a god.
Cool. So yeah, thanks guys for coming on tonight. It's been quite a lively discussion. We've touched on some politics and some other things as well. My first time hosting. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. As always, hit a like and subscribe and comment down below. Chris will hopefully get this edited and up next couple of days. And so thanks to Chris for getting pissed and getting on here. Thanks for Tony for keeping Chris company and touching his leg during the film. And thanks for me. Thanks for me.
It wasn't my leg.
We can do this all day.